Hello students, I am V.L.N. Swarupni, lecturer in biochemistry from Sri Venkateswara College of Arts and Sciences, which is affiliated to Adikavi Nannaya University. So I would like to discuss about second BSc Biochemistry, third semester Biochemistry paper, that is Bioenergetics, that is Enzymology and Bioenergetics, and from this particular paper we have discussed first 3 units and we are in the fourth unit, and in today's class let's see about principles of thermodynamics. Okay, let's see about principles of thermodynamics. This bioenergetics or biochemical thermodynamics deals with the study of energy change, that means transfer or utilization of the energy in biological reactions. Okay, that means any change in the energy by transformation or by utilization by this biochemical reactions, that particular study is called as bioenergetics or biochemical thermodynamics. Okay, and it majorly depends on two types of reactions, that is exergonic reactions and endogonic reactions. Okay, the reactions are broadly classified as exergonic and endogonic. Exergonic reactions are nothing but in which energy during the reaction will be released. Okay, and coming to endergonic, it will during the reaction process this will consume energy. So based on these exergonic and endergonic reactions, changes in the energy can be studied. Okay, bioenergetics is concerned with the initial and final state of energy components of the reactants and not the mechanism of chemical reactions. Okay, so in this bioenergetics, this study is mainly based on the initial and final state compounds. Okay, that means the initial products, substrate or the enzyme which is at the initial stage, and final end product. If we compare with these two components in the initial and final state, energy consumed or utilized can be identified. Okay, and in that initial and final states, energy components or the reactants, that particular energy related to initial and final states is regarded in this bioenergetics studies. And here in bioenergetics we doesn't consider the mechanism of the chemical reaction. Okay, so whereas in enzymology we will also consider about the mechanism of chemical reaction, but whereas about this bioenergetics, mechanism of chemical reactions is not considered. Okay, now let's see about principles of thermodynamics. Okay, two fundamental laws of thermodynamics explain the interconversion of various forms of energy known as the first and second law of thermodynamics. Okay, so here first law of thermodynamics and second law of thermodynamics both are two fundamental laws. Okay, and these two laws will explain the interconversion of various forms of energy. That means energy will be converted from one state to another state in different forms. Okay, so that particular conversion of energy from one form to other form is explained through this first law of thermodynamics and second law of thermodynamics. Okay, and these laws are useful in understanding different aspects. So let's see what are those aspects. These laws are useful in understanding the direction of the reaction, Okay, that means we can identify the direction of the reaction based on this thermodynamic laws. Both the thermodynamic laws, that is thermodynamic first law of thermodynamics and second law of thermodynamics. By using these two laws, we can understand the direction of the reaction, whether it is a forward reaction or it is a backward reaction can be determined. Okay, the direction of reaction, whether from left to right or right to left. Okay, so left to right means forward and right to left means backward. So by this by using these two laws, we can understand and know more about the direction of the reaction. Okay, and the accomplishment of work, whether useful or not. Okay, so these two laws are useful in understanding accomplishment of work, whether useful or not. Okay, whatever the work is being done, whether it is useful or not, can be also identified with this two laws of thermodynamics. Okay, and these laws are useful in understanding whether the energy for driving a reaction must be delivered from an external source. That means by using this first law of thermodynamics and second law of thermodynamics, we can understand whether the energy which is helpful in the reaction process, whether that particular energy is from the external source or not. Okay, so to identify what is the energy source, okay, what is the energy source, whether it is a external one or internal one. Okay, this can be identified whether the energy which is helpful in the reaction process is from the outside source or from the biochemical system in which is an internal source. Okay, so these are the few points that can be identified by using these thermodynamic laws. Okay, and now let's see about the first law of thermodynamics. First law of thermodynamics: the total amount of energy in the universe remains constant. Okay, in the universe, a complete energy which is present in the universe is constant. It says that energy may be converted from one form to another, but it cannot be created or destroyed. Okay, so whatever the energy is present in the universe is constant. Okay, and it can be converted from one form to another, and we cannot create that energy or destroy that energy. Okay, so we can't destroy it or we cannot create it, but it will escape from one state to another state. Okay, it will be converted into one form to other. Okay, we cannot if you want to destroy it, what will happen? From that form it will move to the another form. For example, energy A is present. Take energy A as an example, and you want to destroy it. So you are trying to destroy it. Then what will happen? You are to destroy that particular energy. You will disturb the energy. Okay, to destroy it, you will disturb its you will disturb that energy. Then due to the disturbance created, what it will do? It will be converted into energy B. Okay, so here it is converted, is being converted into other form but not destroyed. Okay, and if you wanted to create the same kind of energy is also not possible. So this is the first law thermodynamics. Okay, what this first law of thermodynamics tell us? The total amount of energy in the universe remains constant, and the energy may be converted from one form to another, but it cannot be created nor destroyed. Okay, so this is the first law of thermodynamics. Okay, and now let's see an example for this first law. For example, in an exothermic reaction means, see here, exothermic, energy releasing. So energy releasing is the exothermic reaction. In exothermic reaction, what will happen? Energy which is essential for the reaction will be released into the atmosphere. Okay, so in this exothermic reaction, heat is given out to the surroundings. Okay, heat, that means heat means it is a source of energy. Okay, it is one kind of energy, it is a source of energy. So this energy is released into the surrounding environment in the form of heat. Okay, what happens in this exothermic reactions? Heat in the energy in the form of heat is released into the surroundings, and as a result the internal energy of reacting system decreases, while the energy of surrounding increases correspondingly. Okay, so by this exothermic reaction, what will happen? Exothermic reaction is the reaction in which energy will be released from the reaction procedure in the form of heat. Okay, so as a result of this, what will happen? Whatever the reacting system or the biological system in which this particular exothermic reaction is being carried, this will be decreased in the internal energy. That means internal energy which is present in this biological system will be decreased due to the release of the internal energy present to the outside in the form of heat. Okay, and while the energy surrounding increases correspondingly. Okay, so and on the other side, environment which is present outside will be less in the energy source. Okay, and as this heat from the exothermic reaction released into the surrounding environment, then surroundings will have high and increased energy, and this will happen in exothermic reaction. Therefore, the total energy of the system and the surroundings taken together remains unchanged. That means here energy in the biological system changed. Okay, that means it moved out of the biological system, and there change in the energy observed. And also coming to the our surrounding environment, there is no energy source in that environment, and due to the exothermic reaction, heat entered this environment, surrounding environment. Then this surrounding environment energy levels also increased, so this also changed. Both the systems energy got changed, and what happened? Finally, if we see the total energy, that means total energy of the surroundings and the biological system, total energy will be the same, but only there will be change in the place of the energy. Okay, if you consider both the places, that is biological system and also the outer surrounding system, both will have total energy, will have the same amount of energy when calculated together. But when we see these two systems differently, what will happen? Biological system energy levels got decreased, whereas surroundings energy levels got increased, and this is seen after the completion of the reaction. If you see this energy concentration before the reaction, what will happen? Energy present in the biological system will be high and energy present in the surroundings will be less. Okay, so total energy will not be changed. Okay, so that's why it will be moved or changed from one form to another form, but not created or destroyed. Okay, so totally energy will change its form or change its place, but it will not be destroyed. Okay, in the same way it cannot be created. Now let's see about the second law of thermodynamics. Second law of thermodynamics. A process can occur spontaneously only if the sum of the entropies of the system and its surroundings increases. So according to second law of thermodynamics, a process can occur spontaneously only if the sum of entropies of the system and its surroundings increases. As energy undergoes spontaneous reactions, this spontaneity can be achieved only when sum of entropies, okay, and surroundings of the entropies of the biological system and also surroundings increases, then only spontaneous reaction will be occurred. Hence a spontaneous process can be represented as delta S process is equal to delta S system plus delta S surroundings less than 0. So this is the equation which represent the second law of thermodynamics, and in second law of thermodynamics it will explain the spontaneous reaction, how the spontaneous reaction is caused. It is caused only when sum of entropies in the biological system and sum of entropies in the surrounding increases. Okay, so by combining this first and second law of thermodynamics, Gibbs free energy concept was developed. Okay, this Gibbs free energy concept was developed by deriving first and second law of thermodynamics. Okay, so let's see about this Gibbs free energy concept. The entropy is not regarded as a criterion whether a biochemical process can take place spontaneously or not, and the entropy changes of chemical reactions are readily measurable. So here entropy is not regarded as a criteria for biological process to take place, okay, and spontaneously or not, and the entropy change of chemical reactions are readily measurable. Okay, what happens here? According to Gibbs free energy concept, here entropy is not considered for the biochemical process taking place spontaneously or not, but here entropy change of chemical reactions are readily measurable. Okay, that means here only entropies reactions, chemical reactions entropy change is measured through this Gibbs free concept, and not based on this entropy, how spontaneously or non-spontaneously the reaction is being happened. It is only considered entropy change during the chemical reaction. Okay, for spontaneity, the entropy changes of the surroundings in the system should be known in order to overcome this problem. Okay, so in spontaneous reactions, the entropy change of the surroundings and of the system should be known, so that if there is any problem, it can be easily overcome. Okay, so based on this, what we should what we should do during the spontaneous reaction, we should calculate the entropy change of the surroundings and also of the system, so that by calculating the change in the entropy of the surroundings and also the biological system during the spontaneous reaction, we can observe any problem, we can resolve any problem which is arised. Okay, in 1875, Gibbs has introduced a different thermodynamic function called free energy, indicated by G. Okay, so Gibbs, he is a scientist, and he in the year 1875 introduced a different thermodynamic function called free energy concept, and he indicated it with G. G is nothing but it is G means Gibbs. He named it after his name. Okay, Gibbs free energy, it is denoted with G, and it is a thermodynamic state of function that benefits the equilibrium condition in terms of the enthalpy and entropy of the system at constant temperature and pressure. Okay, what happens here? This Gibbs free energy is a thermodynamic state of function that defines the equilibrium condition based on this enthalpy and entropy of the system at constant temperature and pressure. Okay, at constant temperature and pressure, this terms are based on the enthalpy and entropy is explained. Okay, this is the equilibrium condition of the system based on the entropy and enthalpy at constant temperature pressure, and it can be denoted as delta G. Delta G means Gibbs free energy is equal to delta H minus T delta S. Okay, here if you see, delta G is Gibbs free energy, T is Kelvin temperature, and delta S is the entropy change. And this equation gives quantitative interrelationship between the change in energy, heat and entropy in chemical reactions taking place at constant temperature and constant pressure. Okay, so this equation, that is delta G is equal to delta H minus T delta S, will explain the interrelationship between change in energy, heat and entropy in the chemical reactions, and the chemical reactions which are taking place at constant temperature and pressure in that particular chemical reactions. This equation will help us to know the interrelationship between heat, energy change and the entropy levels. Okay, and the Gibbs free energy change can be positive, negative, or it can also be zero. That means this Gibbs free energy might be a positive one or a negative one, or it might be also 0 in state. Now let's see about exergonic reaction and endergonic reactions. Okay, this exergonic reaction, if the Gibbs free energy change, that is delta G, is less than 0. Okay, so if Gibbs free energy delta G is less than 0, that is negative, the process is spontaneous and called exergonic reaction or exergonic relation. So for any reaction, if the Gibbs free energy change, that is delta G, if it is less than 0, it is considered as a negative Gibbs free energy change. And what will happen, whenever that particular reaction component reaches Gibbs free energy change to less than 0, then the process is spontaneous. That means that particular reactants undergo spontaneous reaction and undergo exergonic relationship. Okay, and exergonic relationship means release in the energy will be seen in the form of heat. Okay, so it releases energy in this reaction, and the free energy of reactants is greater than the free energy of the reactants is greater than the free energy of products. Okay, so what happens here, whenever this Gibbs free energy change, that is delta G, moves decreases less than 0, it will be a negative Gibbs free energy change, and the process will be very spontaneous, and an exergonic reaction process will be happened, in which this release of energy, okay, energy will be released. And if we compare the free energy of reactants and also of the products, free energy of reactants is very high when compared to the free energy of products. Okay, so whenever the reactant undergo less negative Gibbs free energy change, then it will undergo spontaneous exergonic reaction, in which it will release energy at the end of the reaction, during the reaction. Okay, so after the reaction completed, if we compare the free energy of the reactants and free energy of the products, what will we observe? Greater free energy with the reactants and lower free energy with the products will be observed. Okay, and the chemical energy so released can be used to do work and said to be thermodynamically favorable. Okay, so whatever the energy is released during this exergonic reaction, that can be used to do work. Okay, it is used to do work, and we call it as thermodynamically favorable. Okay, and if you see the example, glucose plus ATP gives rise to glucose 6-phosphate plus ADP, and during this reaction process, what will happen, by utilizing ATP, 8.0 kilocalories per mole Gibbs free energy is released. By this, spontaneous reaction may occur and glucose 6-phosphate is released. Okay, now let's see how this Gibbs free energy is related to endergonic reactions. How this Gibbs free energy is related to endergonic reactions. So in this particular endergonic reactions, the Gibbs free energy change is greater than 0, and what will happen? positive, that means greater than 0 means it is a positive sign, okay. And whenever this Gibbs free energy change is positive and greater than 0, the process is not spontaneously and is called endergonic reaction. So spontaneous reaction will not be occurred, and thus it will lead to endergonic reaction. And in this reaction, the free energy of the products so these reactions require the input of energy and said to be thermodynamically unfavorable. Here products will have increased free energy and will and the reaction requires input of energy, okay. So this reaction should be carried with input of the energy and said to be thermodynamically unfavorable. Example for this is conversion of glucose 6-phosphate to glucose with the help of one ADP molecule, okay. So here dephosphorylation will be taken place, and one phosphate is taken from the glucose and ATP will be formed. During this Gibbs free energy change, delta G is equal to 8.0 kilocalories per mole, okay. And this reaction occur only when there is a supply of energy of at least 8 kilocalorie per mole, okay. So without this 8 kilocalorie energy, this will not be carried, this reaction will not be carried, and this energy will be taken from the surroundings. And if the Gibbs free energy change for a process is 0, the system is at equilibrium, and the delta G sign is controlled by the balance between delta H and T delta S, okay. So if it is a negative one, what will happen? Spontaneous reaction will happen. And if it is a positive sign, what will happen? There will be no spontaneous reaction, and it will be again undergoes reaction only by the availability of the energy. And if Gibbs free energy change is 0, then what will happen? The system is at equilibrium. That means both the reactants and the products and all the system is at equilibrium, and delta sign is controlled by balance between delta H and T delta S, okay. Both delta H and T delta S are at equilibrium, and we can understand that the change in Gibbs free energy as a way of measuring how thermodynamic factors relate to drive a system in equilibrium with its surroundings. So by applying this Gibbs free energy to the exothermic and endothermic reactions, we have seen how this free energy change, Gibbs free energy change, is influencing the reactions, okay. So how these thermodynamic factors will help in the system's equilibrium and also with the surroundings, and also measuring these thermodynamic factors, we can easily identify the equilibrium of the system and the surrounding environment, okay. Now let's see about standard free energy. Standard free energy, this is denoted with delta G naught. Standard free energy is denoted with delta G naught. At a constant temperature and pressure, free energy change, that is delta G, is dependent on the actual concentration of reactants and products, okay. At a constant temperature and pressure, free energy change, that is delta G, it will depend on the actual concentration of the reactants and products. That means based on the concentration of the reactant, product concentration will be present. So this will happen at the constant temperature and at constant pressure and at constant free energy change. Okay, so based on these three factors, are dependent on the concentration of reactants and products. Okay, for example, A reactant gives rise to B product, and here the free energy change delta G will be given by delta G is equal to delta G naught plus RT logarithm B by A. So this reaction we also seen in the previous class. So delta G naught is standard free energy change, R is the gas constant, T is the absolute temperature, A and B is the molecular concentration of the reactants and products. A is the reactant concentration and B is the product concentration. Okay, and the standard free energy change, that is delta G naught of a chemical reaction may be defined as the free energy change when the reactants and products are in their standard states. Okay, so standard state means whenever this reactants and products both are at standard state, that means at constant temperature and pressure. Okay, and constant temperature is 298 Kelvin and pressure is 1 atom pressure. Okay, so these are the constant values of temperature and pressure at which this chemical reaction will be defined as free energy change when the reactants and products are in their standard state. Okay, now let's see delta G is how it's related to equilibrium constant. Delta G naught is related to equilibrium constant. When a reaction A gives rise to B is at equilibrium, the free energy change is 0. Okay, obviously if the concentration of reactants and products are at equilibrium, what it mean? Free energy change is 0. Then delta G is equal to 0, which is equal to delta Z naught plus RT logarithm B equilibrium by A equilibrium. So if you see the difference between the before reaction, here just delta G naught plus RT logarithm B by A is given. Here this is at equilibrium constant, delta G is mentioned as delta G naught plus RT logarithm B equilibrium A equilibrium. So here also the same factors were given. Standard free energy change is denoted with delta G naught and R is the gas constant, T is the absolute temperature natural logarithm, B is the concentration of the product, A is the concentration of reactant. Here delta G naught is equal to, so if we derive that, delta G naught is equal to minus RT logarithm K equilibrium. Okay, so here we overallly take this A equilibrium, B equilibrium, concentration of the reactants and product at the equilibrium is taken as KEQ, that is equilibrium constant. So it is denoted with equilibrium constant. Okay, so this is how this thermodynamics are helpful in the studying of this free energy state. So first let's see what is this thermodynamic laws. Okay, first law of thermodynamics means it is the total amount of energy in the universe. It is the total amount of energy in the universe total amount of energy in the universe remains constant, and it states that energy may be converted from one form to another, but it cannot be created or destroyed. Okay, so first law of thermodynamics states that total amount of energy in the universe remains constant, and the energy may be converted from one form to another form but not created or destroyed. Okay, and if you see second law, a process can occur spontaneously only if the sum of the entropies of the system and its surroundings increases. Okay, so in first law it explained about energy. Okay, energy change. First law of thermodynamics will explain about energy change. That means energy will not be created or destroyed, but it is converted into one form to another. Okay, and coming to second law of thermodynamics, it explains about entropies, how this entropy will influence the reaction. Okay, so only spontaneous reaction can only be occurred when entropy values of the system and also surroundings increases, then only spontaneous reaction will be formed. Okay, and how these first law and second law of thermodynamics are helpful? These are helpful to understand the direction of the reaction and how this reaction is helpful, or energy produced is helpful to for the whether that energy is useful or not. These type of characters can be understood well, and energy for driving a reaction must be delivered from an external source or not. That means any reaction will require a certain amount of energy, and is that particular energy is delivered is taken from the outer source, external source, or from internal source can also be understood by studying these thermodynamic laws. And when we apply these thermodynamic law, this Gibbs in the year 1875, Gibbs developed this free energy concept based on this thermodynamics by taking first law of thermodynamics and second law of thermodynamics. What he did, he developed a new concept called free energy concept, and he named it as Gibbs free energy. Okay, Gibbs free energy after his name, and he denoted that free energy or free energy change with G. Free energy is denoted with G, and Gibbs free energy change is denoted with delta G. And he applied this delta G to both exothermic and endothermic reactions. So here Gibbs free energy change, that is delta G, is equal to delta H minus T delta S, and he applied this to the exergonic reactions and endogonic reactions. When this free energy change concept is seen in exergonic reactions, if it is lesser than 0, he considered it as negative Gibbs free energy change, and because of this lesser delta G value or negative delta G value, reaction occurs very spontaneously, and during this spontaneity it will also release some energy. Okay, in the form of heat it will release some energy. Okay, and if we calculate the energy of reactants and also energy of the products, energy of the reactants is higher when compared to the energy of products. Okay, and the next one is endergonic reaction. In this endergonic reaction, Gibbs free energy will be positive, delta G is positive value, and spontaneous reaction will not be occurred, and it requires energy. Whenever that energy required is supplied to that reactants, then only a spontaneous reaction will be carried. Okay. And if both reactants if delta G is at equilibrium, energy change is at equilibrium, then what will happen? It will be indicated with 0, and delta H and T delta S are indicated with a balanced sign. Okay. And standard free energy is also studied regarding this thermodynamics of the thermodynamics of these components, and this is nothing but standard free energy is denoted with delta G naught, and at constant temperature and pressure free energy change is dependent on the concentration of reactants and products. Okay, it is and its equation is delta G is equal to delta G naught plus RT logarithm B by A, and at equilibrium this is denoted with equilibrium constant, that is delta G is equal to 0, that is equal to delta G naught plus RT logarithm B equation by A equation. Okay, so this is about thermodynamic concept related to this energy change. So while listening to this class, please keep the material which is provided for you with you. Listen to the class, and if you have any doubts, please contact me. Thank you, students.